Her sons left her in room 214. 3 years later, a stranger walked in and said their names like a verdict. The doors of Willowmere House opened at 9 a.m. sharp. A man in a gray suit stepped inside. He carried a black leather case sealed with a red string tie. His shoes clicked on the tile floor, no small talk, no smile. "I need Brennan Ward and Care Ward," he said, "today." The receptionist blinked. "Are you family?" "No," he said, "I'm Sutton Vale, their mother's attorney." The room went still. 2 nurses near the desk stopped talking. A phone rang and nobody picked it up. Down the hall in room 214, an old woman sat by the window. Her hands rested on a worn brown Bible. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. She already knew why he had come. Celestine Ward had been waiting 3 years for this exact morning. Outside her door, the administrator's voice dropped low, urgent. "Sir, if this is about a billing issue." "It's not," Sutton said. "If those 2 men do not walk through this door today, a judge will ask why. And I don't think you want to be the one answering." Celestine opened her Bible. Tucked between the pages was a folded sheet of paper, soft and worn from being touched too many times. She read the first line, though she had memorized it years ago. "If they leave me here, wait exactly 3 years." She closed the book gently and looked out the window. Sunlight hit her face. Her eyes were sharp, clear, nothing like the file in that nursing home claimed. 3 years ago, 2 grown men had kissed her forehead and promised Sunday. Sunday never came. Not once. Down the hall, Sutton set his case on the front desk and waited. "Call them," he said. "Tell them I'm not leaving." They promised Sunday. They never came back. Comment the moment you realize someone's promise meant nothing. Subscribe now, because what happens in that meeting room is going to make you furious, and you do not want to miss it. Before the sun came up, she had already sold her wedding ring. 26 years before room 214, Celestine Ward sat at her kitchen table at 5 a.m., a velvet box open in front of her. 2 boys slept down the hall. Bills sat in a stack by her elbow. Her husband had been dead 11 months. She closed the box, put on her coat, drove to a pawn shop on the edge of Atlanta, and walked out with enough cash to keep the lights on for 1 more month. She never told her sons. That was the kind of mother she was, the kind who turned grief into work. She bought a rundown motel with that money, and 3 more loans nobody thought she'd repay. She gutted it herself some nights, paint on her hands, blisters on her palms. By the time Brennan turned 10, that motel was a boutique hotel. By the time Care turned 8, there were 3 more. She built an empire out of exhaustion and love. The boys grew up in marble lobbies and warm cars, never knowing what the early mornings had cost her. There were good moments too, real ones. Brennan, aged 12, once climbed 3 flights of stairs with a cup of tea when she had the flu, spilling half of it on the way. Care, 16, at his father's grave, gripping her hand so hard it hurt, whispering, "I'll never leave you, not ever." She believed him. She believed both of them. But comfort changes people quietly. Brennan learned to perform love instead of feel it. At a company gala years later, in front of investors and cameras, he corrected her mid-sentence, smiling for the room. "Mother means the other property," he said, voice smooth, eyes cold. She said nothing. She just noticed. She always noticed. Care learned something else. He learned how to stay quiet when staying quiet was easier. 2 weeks after Celestine's fall, a phone rang in Brennan's office. Care's voice came through, shaking. "She's scared, Brennan. Maybe we wait, maybe." "If we wait any longer," Brennan said, flat and final, "she will ruin everything." He hung up first. She gave them everything. They gave her silence. If you've ever sacrificed for someone who later forgot the cost, type "I know that pain" below. Don't look away now. The next chapter is where it all goes wrong. The floor was cold under her cheek before anyone heard her fall. Celestine lay on the kitchen tile, dizzy, her hand still gripping the counter she'd missed. The ambulance came fast. The doctors moved fast. By noon, they told her the truth. Mild concussion, a few weeks of therapy, she'll be back on her feet. Brennan stood in the hallway outside her room, already on the phone before the doctor finished talking. "She's been forgetting things," he said into the receiver, "more than usual." That wasn't true. Nobody in that hospital had said the word confused. Brennan said it for them. By the next appointment, he answered every question before his mother could open her mouth. "She's tired today. She gets mixed up with dates. It's safer if we handle this for her." Celestine sat in her wheelchair, listening to her own son describe a stranger. Care stood by the window the whole time. He saw it. He felt it. He said nothing. 2 days later, Brennan came to her room holding a brochure with a soft photo of a garden on the cover, Willowmere House. "Just 6 weeks," he said, smiling the same smile he used for investors, "for your safety. While you heal." She nodded. She trusted him. She had built his whole life out of trust like that. He kissed her forehead at the door. Care squeezed her hand, but he couldn't look at her eyes. "We'll be back Sunday," Brennan said. Sunday came. The chair beside her bed stayed empty. Another Sunday came, empty. A nurse leaned in one evening, gentle, careful. "Mrs. Ward, is there family we should call?" Celestine looked at the door like it might still open. "I thought I had some," she whispered. Weeks later, a clerk left a folder on her lunch tray by mistake. Celestine opened it with shaking hands. Her eyes moved down the page once, twice. The words stopped her breath. Status changed. Short-term recovery, right arrow, indefinite residential care. No one had told her. No one had asked her. She closed the folder slowly and pushed her tray aside. She did not cry. She started counting days instead. She thought it was 6 weeks. It was never meant to end. Some lies don't announce themselves, they just quietly change the paperwork. Keep watching. What she does with those counted days changes everything. 3 birthdays passed, no cake, no calls, just a number on a calendar nobody else was counting. Celestine marked them quietly in her Bible. Christmas morning, year 1. She watched other families through the lobby window, paper cups of cocoa in their hands, laughter she wasn't part of. Mother's Day, year 2. A card came in the mail, unsigned, store-bought, mailed by an assistant, not a son. Brennan visited twice in 3 years, once for a signature on a document he didn't explain. Once with a photographer, arranging her hand in his for a family photo that ran in a charity newsletter. He smiled wide for the camera. The moment it clicked, he checked his watch. Care never signed anything. He just looked ashamed and said less each time. One night, a nurse named Nola Pierce sat beside Celestine's bed, taking her blood pressure. She paused. "You knew today was Tuesday before I told you," Nola said. "And last week you knew the date the file got wrong." Celestine looked at her steady. "My mind never left, dear. Only my family did." That was the night Nola stopped reading the file and started reading the woman. Celestine began writing again, not letters this time, facts. Dates, names, numbers from old hotel contracts she still remembered by heart. Every missed Sunday, every false claim a doctor had repeated without checking. She tucked the pages into her Bible, between Psalms and a photo of her husband. One freezing night in winter, Nola looked out the parking lot window and froze. A car sat under the streetlight, engine running. A man inside, head down on the wheel, shoulders shaking. "Care." He didn't come in. 22 minutes passed, then the car pulled away. Nola never told Brennan, but she told Celestine. Celestine took out her Bible that night and wrote one more line, hand trembling slightly. Care came again, stayed 22 minutes. Brennan must never know I saw him. She closed the book and held it against her chest, like it could still feel her heartbeat. She wasn't just waiting anymore. She was building something. Busy people still call, busy people still remember. Her sons weren't busy, they were gone. If you think Care's silence is worse than Brennan's cruelty, comment worse. If not, comment coward. A letter sat sealed in a law office safe for 6 years, waiting for a clock no one knew was running. In a glass office downtown, Sutton Vale's phone buzzed with an alert he'd been waiting on for 36 months. He read it once. Then again, he set his coffee down without drinking it. God help those boys, he muttered, if she kept records. 6 years before her fall, Celestine had sat across from Sutton in this same office. No fall yet. No nursing home. Just a sharp, healthy woman with a quiet request. I've watched families like mine before, she'd told him. Money makes children patient. They wait for weakness. She didn't think her sons would do it. She prepared anyway. That day, she signed a document called the 3-year covenant. Buried in legal language was one simple rule. If her sons ever placed her in long-term care and failed real, meaningful contact for 3 full years, an independent review would trigger automatically. No appointment needed, no request, just time and silence doing the talking. She told no one, not Brennan, not Care, only Sutton and the file and the calendar that started counting the moment she signed. Back at Willowmere, Nola had her own discovery. Reviewing medication logs one night, she noticed something odd. Brennan had requested 2 dosage changes for Celestine that month. He hadn't visited once. He had changed his mother's medicine over the phone, without seeing her face, without asking how she slept, without knowing her hands now shook slightly in the cold. Nola wrote it down, nothing dramatic. Just facts, dated, careful, same as Celestine taught her without ever using those words. Back in his office, Sutton opened a thin folder and read the trigger report twice more. 3 years. No real visits, 2 staged appearances for a camera. Medication changes ordered from a distance. He picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Clear my schedule," he said. "I'm going to Savannah." He paused at the door, case under his arm, and said the line that would set tomorrow morning in motion. It's time someone asked for those 2 by name. She didn't sign that paper out of fear. She signed it out of love that knew better than to be naive. Brennan walked in carrying documents instead of flowers. He had no idea the meeting was already over before it started. The conference room at Willowmere House smelled like fresh coffee and old fear. Sutton sat at the head of the table, his case closed beside him. The administrator hovered near the door, pale, flipping through Celestine's file like the pages might rearrange themselves into something less damaging. Brennan arrived first, pressed suit. Tight jaw, no flowers, no card, just a slim portfolio under his arm like he'd come to close a deal, not see his mother. "This is a misunderstanding," he said before he even sat down. "My mother's condition has required careful management. I assume that's what this is about." Sutton said nothing. He didn't need to. Care arrived 10 minutes later. No suit, no case, just a wrinkled shirt and eyes that hadn't slept right in years. He sat far from his brother. Then the door opened once more. Celestine walked in wearing a pale blue cardigan, her hair brushed soft by Nola's hand that morning. She moved slower than she used to. But she walked in steady, her eyes finding her sons and staying there. Brennan stood too fast. "Mother, this is unnecessary." Celestine sat down across from him without help. "So was leaving me here," she said. The room went still enough to hear the air conditioner hum. Brennan recovered quickly. He turned to Sutton, speaking past his mother like she was furniture. "I don't think she fully understands the legal complexity of—" "She understands everything," Sutton said, "better than you do." He opened his case and set 3 folders on the table, one by one, each labeled with a single year. Year 1, Year 2, Year 3. Brennan's eyes flicked to them, then away, like looking too long might burn. Sutton's hand rested on the first folder. He didn't open it yet. "Brennan," he said quietly, You may want to call your own attorney before your mother speaks. Brennan laughed once, sharp and short. I built this company. Nothing in those folders changes that. Open it. Sutton finally smiled. It wasn't kind. As you wish. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. The silence did the damage. If that line gave you chills, comment so was leaving me here. The folders are about to open. Stay close. What's inside breaks the room apart. Sutton opened year 1, and Brennan's smile cracked before a single word was read aloud. Year 1, Sutton said, sliding the page forward. 2 visits. 1 for a signature, 1 for a photograph. Brennan crossed his arms. Business required my attention. That's not abandonment, that's responsibility. Year 2, Sutton continued, ignoring him. Medication changes ordered by phone. No visit attached to either request. I trusted the staff to monitor her, Brennan said. That's called delegation. The administrator shifted in her seat, eyes down, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. Her facility's notes didn't match the dates in front of her, and she knew it. Nola spoke for the first time, calm and clear. Mrs. Ward never lost her memory, she lost her visitors. Brennan's jaw tightened. She's 78, memory fades, that's biology, not betrayal. Then explain this, Sutton said, opening year 3. Inside was a single page, a parking lot log, dates, times, a car, a name. Care's name. The room turned toward him. He didn't run. He didn't argue. He just stared at the page like it was a mirror he couldn't avoid anymore. I sat outside, he said quietly. More than once, I never came in. Celestine's voice was soft. I knew every time. Care's hands trembled on the table. Why didn't you say something? Because cowardice can still become courage, she said. Cruelty rarely does. I was waiting to see which one you'd choose. Brennan scoffed. This is theater, sentiment dressed up as evidence. No, Care said, lifting his head, voice breaking. It's true. I let him do it. I watched him lie to doctors and I said nothing. I let her disappear because speaking up felt harder than staying quiet. He looked at his brother. That may be worse than what you did. Brennan's calm finally slipped. You cannot remove me. The trust is already under my authority. I made sure of that years ago. Sutton reached for the final folder, the thickest one on the table. No, Brennan, he said. That is what your mother allowed you to believe. 2 sons, 1 silence that watched, 1 lie that controlled. Comment which one you blame more, Brennan or Care. The final folder is open now. What's inside changes who controls everything. The trust Brennan thought he controlled had never belonged to him at all. Sutton opened the final folder and laid 1 page flat on the table. Brennan leaned forward, eyes scanning fast, color draining from his face line by line. This is a conditional clause, Sutton said. Your authority over the trust was never permanent. It was monitored. The 3-year covenant gave me legal standing to revoke it the moment neglect was confirmed. That's not possible, Brennan said. I reviewed every document myself. You reviewed what your mother let you see, Sutton said, not what she kept. Brennan turned to Celestine, voice rising for the first time. You're punishing me for managing things while you were unwell. I'm removing you, Celestine said, for deciding I was unwell so you could manage things. Silence sat heavy in the room. Brennan looked around for support and found none. Not from Sutton, not from the administrator, not even from Care. You're choosing him, Brennan said, pointing across the table, over me. For 1 second his voice cracked, not anger, something underneath it. He looked like the boy who once climbed 3 flights of stairs with spilled tea in his hands. Then his jaw tightened again, and the boy was gone. I'm choosing truth over performance, Celestine said. You never once asked for forgiveness. You asked for control. Brennan's authority was stripped on the spot, removed from the trust, the board, every decision tied to her name. He shoved back from the table, his chair scraping the floor. Then the room turned toward Care. He didn't ask about money. He didn't ask to be forgiven quickly. "Is there anything I can do?" he asked. "Anything real?" Celestine studied him for a long moment before answering. 3 years, she said, unpaid. At my foundation, no title, no comfort. If you quit, every cent meant for you goes there instead. Care nodded slowly. I understand. Brennan laughed, bitter and sharp, already moving toward the door. He stopped beside his brother just long enough to whisper one line, low and cold. If you accept this, you're dead to me. Care didn't answer him. He looked at his mother instead. If I do all of it, he asked quietly, will you ever call me your son again? Celestine didn't answer right away. She didn't choose revenge. She chose accountability, and that hit harder. Comment earned if you think Care deserves the chance. Comment too late if you don't. An old woman in the foundation lobby refused to shake Care's hand on his first day. I know who you are, she said. Your mother told us everything. Care nodded once and got to work anyway. Month 1, he stacked chairs and sorted files while families watched him like he might steal something. No one spoke to him unless they had to. Month 6, a volunteer finally asked him to pass the coffee, small thing. He thought about it the whole drive home. Month 11, he missed a Tuesday visit for the first time, caught in traffic. Nothing more, and panicked the entire way there, certain his mother would think he'd quit. She hadn't even noticed the time. That scared him more than her anger would have. He learned her routines slowly, the way you learn a stranger, yellow roses, not white. Tuesdays for reading, not Thursdays, quiet in the morning, talkative by evening. Meanwhile, Brennan's name disappeared from hotel letterheads one branch at a time. Board members stopped returning calls. He never visited Willowmere again. At 18 months, Celestine let Care hold her Bible for the first time. He found the page dated 3 years earlier. His mother's careful handwriting laid it out plainly, a parking lot, a running engine, 22 minutes. His own failure written in her hand. He didn't speak, he just sat with it. By year 2, she stopped flinching when he reached for her hand. By year 3, she said his name first when he walked in, not the other way around. Her body, though, kept slowing. Some mornings she needed the hour repeated twice before it stayed with her. One evening she called for Nola, voice thin but certain. I'm tired now, she said, but I need one more letter written. Nola reached for paper without asking why. 2 days later, Sutton's phone rang, funeral instructions, specific, final. No one in that room was ready to ask what that meant. Real repair doesn't look like a speech. It looks like 3 years of showing up anyway. Her hand went still in his at 4:12 in the morning, and the room finally went quiet after 3 years of waiting. Care was holding it when it happened, no machines beeping a warning. No sudden gasp, just her breath slowing then stopping, gentle as a page turning. He stayed quiet at first. He just sat there, her hand still warm, and said the thing he never got to say in time. I'm sorry I waited so long to stay. The funeral was held under a gray Savannah sky. Brennan arrived in a black suit, sunglasses on despite the clouds, already scanning for cameras that weren't there. He walked toward the front row like he still owned a seat at this family. Sutton stepped in front of him, holding a sealed envelope. Your mother left instructions, he said. Brennan opened it in front of everyone. One line, written in Celestine's careful hand. You may attend, but you may not perform grief for an audience. He stood frozen for a long moment, then quietly moved to a seat in the back. No outburst. No protest. Just silence, the same silence he'd given her for 3 long years, finally turned back on him. Care sat near the front, head down, until Nola touched his shoulder. Come forward, she said, not because you earned applause, because you stayed when staying was hard. He walked up slowly and sat where a son belongs. After the service, Nola found a small sealed envelope tucked behind Celestine's reading chair. Address blank, her name written on the front in shaky letters. Inside was a single brass key and one folded note. There is one truth my sons never knew, a hotel suite locked for 12 years. Find it before you decide this story is finished. Nola stared at the key for a long moment, heart pounding. Celestine's last lesson had nothing to do with getting even. It was about dignity, choosing who gets close enough to hurt you again, and who has earned the right to stay. A parent can love a child without ever handing back the keys to destroy them twice. Forgiveness isn't the same as trust. Some betrayals can heal. Some can only be survived. Comment whether Celestine made the right choice with care, and whether Brennan deserved everything he lost. If this story moved you, subscribe now. The next one waiting for you might hit even harder.